Hello. Boris Johnson is in trouble, isn't he? And he's in trouble for the same reason that Trump was in trouble. The media have decided they're going to run a campaign, flex their muscles, show how strong they are, and get him out of office. What happens after that? Well, that's not their concern. So if the whole country goes to hell in a handbasket, then who cares? They've shown who's boss. The media is king. I remember when I was a student, I was speculating about government being run by the media. I think I might have mentioned this before with another student, and we were thinking of writing a science fiction story in which the government was run by the various media organs, and we called it, I said, what would that be? Well, an aristocracy is run by aristocrats, and a theocracy is run by religious authorities. So what would a government by the media be called? And I came up with the answer: a mediocracy. And we both fell about laughing at that, but we never got the story written. I wish I had written it. I would have then been able to say I was a true prophetess. Anyway, Boris Johnson is in trouble, and I hope he gets past it, because I honestly don't see a reasonable choice, unless perhaps David Davis. But he's perhaps he's been a backbencher rather a long time, and he's turned into something of a loose cannon. A bit like a Tory version of Jeremy Corbyn, without the anti-Semitism, of course. But that's another story. Anyway, so before I carry on, remember, I am Grannyopteryx. I want you to like, subscribe and share my videos. Well, I'd like you to. I mean, whether you do that or not is your business. Remember, if you're seeing me on YouTube, you might know me as DemiRep, and you might find yourself being unsubscribed at odd times, even though you hadn't actually unsubscribed. YouTube tends to do that. So keep on watching those subscriptions and ring that bell. All right. And oh, yes, if I disappear, remember, I shall be still on Rumble, BitChute and Minds. All right. So, well, I'd say that the problems of Boris Johnson really got started in earnest when a recently elected MP, that is, he was elected in the 2019 election, called Christian Wakeford, left the Conservative Party last week and crossed the floor to the Labour Party. This is acceptable behaviour, by the way. It's not very much liked by the parties involved. Winston Churchill did it twice. He crossed from the Conservatives to the Liberals, and then he crossed back from the Liberals to the Conservatives. The idea is that when people are voting for an MP, they're not voting for a party, they're voting for a representative, which is a man, and it doesn't really matter, or a woman, matter which party that person belongs to. Of course, now that's sort of changed. But of course, papers like The Guardian and the broadcasters generally, like the BBC, are making much of Wakeford's it's called a defection. It's not really a defection, but transfer of loyalties, because it helps them in their persistent attempts to get rid of Boris Johnson, as I said, and it makes them feel important, and it makes them feel just like their pals over the pond in the USA, who, you may remember, ran an intensive campaign to oust Donald Trump, convincing at least half of the great American public that Trump was the very devil. Apparently, Mr. Wakeford crossed the floor, this is what he says, because of the fuss surrounding reports about Downing Street parties, which may or may not have taken place during lockdown. You know, there are so many conflicting stories about these episodes that, well, you'd think they were a rerun of the recent plague statistics. So I understand Mr. Wakeford's dismay at these hijinks, if they were indeed hijinks, except that at the very same time, some photos have surfaced showing Sir Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, similarly attending a get-together of some sort during exactly the same period. There was basically just one difference. While Johnson's lot were drinking wine, Starmer and co were drinking beer. And I want to know, does it make it better that the rules were being broken, but with working class plonk? You tell me, because, well, I don't know. Apparently Mr. Wakeford wrote a letter in which he said that Labour was ready to provide an alternative government that this country can be proud of and not embarrassed by. I'm not sure how that works out. The Labour Party has been one embarrassment after the other. But to give Wakeford his due, he has apparently been thinking about this for several months when he approached the Labour Party about a switch last autumn, I think. Although I do wonder how the people of Bury South feel about it. Most of them made a considerably hard decision to vote Conservative, and now the Conservative they voted for has thrown that trust back in their faces. I'm not sure how they like that, but then I'm not living in Bury South, so if anyone is and is watching this, please let me know what you think. I do wonder though about the timing of Wakeford's move, because Johnson has been under fire for a while with all sorts of allegations. For instance, some MPs have said that they've been told by party whips. For people unfamiliar with the way the UK Parliament works, the whips are in charge of party discipline, and their name is not an accident. It was taken from fox hunting, something every respectable MP used to do in years gone by. And the whips were named for the whippers in, the people in charge of keeping the hounds under control. From that you might understand that the post of party whip was not one likely to be given to nice guys who sit back and say, oh well, boys will be boys, or some such similar. No, they are feared disciplinarians in any party, and furthermore, mostly they do the job on their own. That is, they are in charge of discipline. They're not phoning number 10 all the time to ask what to do. So if there's one who has, well, underdone the carrots and overdone the stick, that's not Johnson's bag. But the press is tarring him with that brush. Anyway, so they tried Partygate, and the public don't seem too fussed about that. Then they tried bullying. Well, most people so despise MPs that they feel nothing particularly emotional about hearing that an MP is being leaned on rather too hard by his party hierarchy. So now, ta-dam! They're trying racism. Oh yes, a Muslim ex-minister, Nusrat Ghani, is now saying that she was sacked because she was too Muslim. This is in a government, I have to remind you, a government where the cabinet has Rishi Sunak, Priti Patel and Sajid Javid in the cabinet. Oh, and Boris himself, by the way, is the great-grandson of a Turk. And if I am reading the broader British public correctly, and I may not be, Ms. Ghani's complaints will go down as just another example of Muslims playing the victim to gain political ends. She was a junior transport minister, by the way, hardly a high flyer. She says that when she first broached the subject of the prejudice to which she says she has been subjected, she was told that this was a matter for the formal complaints procedure, which she did not take up at the time. But she has chosen to take up the highly public position on it now. I do wonder why. I honestly do. She says that Muslimness was raised as an issue, and I think she might have misheard the conversation. Perhaps it was simply incompetence that they were talking about. It might not have been Muslimness that they thought was hindering her ability to do a good job. Perhaps they actually said it was ineptness, or perhaps unskillfulness, or ineffectualness, or rudeness, or perhaps even perfidiousness. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.